Australia is currently the most vulnerable country in the developed world to the crime of money laundering. Alongside Haiti and Madagascar, Australia is one of the three countries worldwide that have not implemented Tranche 2, a tightening of anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism financing laws that will regulate the law, accounting, and real estate industries. With no regulatory framework or government support, many Australian businesses don't know how best to protect themselves and, most importantly, still don't realize any risky nature of current processes. So, our chat is going to be with Auckland-based First AML founder and CEO Milan Cooper, whose global company offers a technology solution that helps businesses to protect themselves against crime. Without further ado, let's invite Milan to the show to chat more on the matter. So, hi, I hope I got your name right. Is it Milan or Milan? How do you pronounce it?
It's Milan, yeah.
Alrighty. Sorry about that. So, how are you today, Milan?
I'm doing really well, thanks. Thanks for having me on the show.
Awesome, thank you. So I'm going to just dive right into the question. So this looks like a pretty serious topic, but we need to discuss it. So let's go with the basics first. So you look pretty young. And this is like a really, looks like a tough business. So what made you want to start a company such as First AML? And also tell me, what does AML stand for?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for saying I look young. I don't feel that young. But no, so AML, to begin with, AML stands for anti-money laundering. So we are First AML, and we've been going about 5 years. And what made me want to start the business originally? Well, I was really looking for something which would give me purpose and a real motivation to get out of bed every day and go and build something amazing. And I was a little bit disillusioned with the corporate environment, and I'd had a career there, but I wanted to do something for myself, and it was quite exciting to get into a startup environment. And so what I was really drawn to with AML was that we have an opportunity to have sort of a dual impact. So firstly, there's a real challenge around AML compliance and streamlining AML compliance. And this is a difficult problem to solve. And so I'm really engaged with, how do we make this process much better? And secondly, we are playing a role in improving access to the financial system using our software and ultimately limiting criminal exploitation of the financial system. And so these two things in combination get me really energized to go to work every day.
Awesome. Okay, that's really okay. I just want to do a bit of digging. So, are you a hacker, a cybersecurity expert, or are you a business person like you are the numbers guy? So, how are you involved in this?
Yeah, I'm a business person and sort of a numbers guy. So I don't come from a software engineering background, and so we've had to bring that sort of talent into our business. But yeah, I bring this sort of the business and strategic aspects to the team.
Awesome. So, okay. So what is Tranche 2?
So Tranche 2 is essentially the rollout of new regulation in Australia, which would require designated non-financial businesses to comply with AML laws. So these are businesses like law firms and accounting firms and real estate agencies who are currently are not following any anti-money laundering regulations. And these are important areas to regulate, because these businesses really are used to facilitate money laundering in the economy. And most countries in the world have adopted Tranche 2, but Australia is lagging behind.
So it's really lagging behind, like why? Because Australia is supposed to be one of the OECD top countries, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really strange that Australia is lagging behind. And honestly, it's quite embarrassing for Australia. The rest of the world has adopted this legislation, and certainly Australia's peers on the international stage have adopted this legislation. So it is embarrassing for Australia, and really the politicians are to blame here. They haven't had the impetus to get this going and to pass this legislation, and you know, as a result of that, we're in a situation where there's some pretty horrific crimes being enabled by criminals, and by this lack of regulation in Australia.
Okay, so can you give us some examples of money laundering scandals that have taken place in Australia, and what we could have done to avoid it if we would have had all these anti-money laundering laws in place?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's been a recent case just within the last month, in which there was a massive bust, and police have seized over $150 million worth of property. And essentially, this is considered a multi-billion-dollar money laundering operation, and it appears to be some shadow banking type operations whereby an intermediary is allowing or facilitating the transfer of cash between Australia and other countries, and enabling criminals to move their money across these borders and invest it in legitimate assets like property. And so what you have here is professionals like lawyers and accountants and real estate agents enabling that transfer of wealth and enabling the acquisition of property from these criminals, because they're not asking, or they're not required to ask questions, or they're not required to report suspicious transactions or suspicious activities. And this is purely because Tranche 2 hasn't been adopted in Australia, and so these checks and balances aren't in place.
Okay, so I was quite interested when you said real estate businesses, because in Australia, people love to buy properties. So, okay, can you give me an example? Like, let's just say Ray White. So if they use your software, so what happens? Like, you know, now they don't have the software, and then when they have your software, what is the difference? Like, you know?
Yeah, so it enables the identity verification of the buyers and sellers of real estate. And so you're making sure that the ultimate beneficial owners, or the ultimate owners of these properties are real people, and they aren't made up, or they're not, you know, part of an elaborate scam to transfer the property ownership. So the first sort of element is identity verification. The other element is digging into the nature of the transaction, the purpose of the transaction, and being able to flag if there are suspicious activities going on and associated with this transaction. See, and some of these are the sort of the core principles around AML laws, and so they're an attempt to sort of uncover illegal dealings in these property transactions. And right now, none of these checks are required, and so people aren't required to inquire about where the money comes from, or aren't required to report anything suspicious, and therefore it's much more easy for criminals to exploit the system.
Okay, so all right, just tell me, how do you help businesses better equip themselves with all this anti-money laundering thing? So you go in, you give them a 15 minutes free consultations like most businesses do, and then you give them a price, and then you go in and you change their systems. How does it work?
Yeah, essentially we roll out what's called a KYC, or Know Your Customer solution for our customers, so that they can make the appropriate inquiries about their customers when they are transacting with them. And so this is a software product, and it helps our customers, really understand who they're dealing with, and it helps with, monitoring their customers over time, and also being able to track anything suspicious so that it can be reported to the authorities. So essentially, this is a compliance platform which helps our customers make sure that they know they're not dealing with any criminal activities, and so this is what we've rolled out in New Zealand and the UK, and we are already operating in Australia because the financial sector in Australia is captured by these laws, but the designated non-financial businesses, the lawyers, the accountants, the real estate agents, they are not captured today.
Okay, so, but some might think this will delay the process of buying a house. Would that be an argument for?
No, I mean, these checks can be completed in in minutes or hours. They're really checks to obtain documentation, and they can be completed really fast. So it doesn't need, using the right technology, it doesn't need to be a burden on businesses, and it doesn't need to slow down transactions.
Okay, so for these businesses that are in, like you said, lawyers, accountants, and real estate, right? Now that they don't have all this anti-money laundering law in place, so how do they best protect themselves from any sort of scandals?
Yeah, so they can do more to ask their customers, where the money's coming from, and just be really alert to suspicious activities. And if they do think something is suspicious, I guess not just to turn a blind eye, but to alert the authorities. That's the best thing businesses can be doing today. And in due course, this Tranche 2 regulation will be enforced in Australia, and there will be much more comprehensive checks required.
Okay, do you have any competitors here in Australia? Like, are you?
Not really. Our value proposition is quite unique in that we offer end-to-end KYC for any customer entity type, and we find this is quite a unique offering. The biggest competitor to us really is doing it yourself, and so organizations who don't adopt software to help with this, they may implement their own processes and manual checks, which obviously create quite an administrative burden. And so that's probably the main competitor to us is firms who are still doing things with with spreadsheets and emails back and forth, and we introduce technology to streamline this whole process.
Awesome. So again, right, what is KYC again? Sorry, I just wanted to know what does that stand for.
Yeah, KYC stands for Know Your Customer, and so yeah, it's around understanding who you're working with and the identity of your customer. And when your customer is a complex entity like a company or a trust, it involves digging through the layers of ownership to understand the ultimate beneficial owners of that entity.
Okay, who are your clients in Australia at the moment? Can you divulge that info?
Yeah, I mean, at a high level, we work with investment firms and lenders and other types of financial services firms, including banks. And so they all need to comply with these laws, and we are providing our software to them.
Okay, what does the future look like for AML regulation in Australia? Basically, now that we have a new government.
Yeah, I mean, I'd really love to see this government really take this seriously and make this a priority to pass this law to bring Tranche 2 into force. And we've really got to see this for Australia to remain in line with its peers on the world stage, because it is becoming embarrassing, as I said earlier.
Okay. All right. That's all the time that we have for today. Thank you, Milan, for speaking with us today.
Thanks very much for having me.
Awesome. Thank you for listening to another episode of 30 Minutes with dailystraits.com. If you like this podcast, don't forget to subscribe to it and give us a like in all our social networks. Thank you.